Okay, on today's video, I'm going to specifically be looking at on how to create a game that will be faster and a shorter overall game time so that you and your friends can get to the in-game crisis at a shorter amount of time, still enjoy the game without as much time kind of in this mid to end game where you're dragging it out. What I usually find at around year 2325 to year 2350 in the game year is when things start to drag out. So I like to basically reduce when the in-game crisis appears at that time, but then also increasing other items to kind of help my friends and I build up a massive empire. And so when you're building up a massive empire quickly, you want a lot of habitable worlds that you and your friends can take over and populate. You want to have your population increase a bit faster. However, this can make for a little bit of a intensive game towards the end game because there's so much population, there's so many worlds, there's so many things going on. Especially if you're playing multiplayer, this can have quite a big effect. And so that's why I like to start with a medium solar system, just to kind of keep those worlds and populations down, as well as I like to reduce the AI empires from the default 9 for a medium system to about 5 or 4. Still enough to give my friends and I some computer AI to play against and possibly with in terms of creating a federation. Personally, I like to turn off the advanced AI starts, but if you want a more difficult game, you can turn that up. Fallen Empire and Marauders, I like to play against these in the mid to late game, so I put those up to max, but that's a personal choice. The tech and tradition cost. This is important for a quicker game. You want to reduce this all the way to the minimum it can go. So the default is 1, and I'm going to reduce it to 0.25, basically reducing the technology and the traditional costs by a fourth. And so what I mean by that is if there's a technology that would normally take 1 year to complete, now it's going to take 3 months. And similar with the tradition costs as well. Habitable worlds, I put that up to the max, so my friends and I have plenty of worlds to explore and take over and populate. It makes for a more fun game in my opinion. I like to turn off primitive civilizations, but that's a personal choice. Crisis strength, when I'm playing with friends, I'll turn this all the way up. That way it gives my friends and I a challenge. But if you're a newer player or you're just playing by yourself, you might want to turn that down a little bit, especially if you're having a quick game. Crisis type, that's a personal choice if you want to do random or if you want to select a certain crisis. Mid to end game start year. So this is the year where the mid game and the end game crisis can start. Now that doesn't mean it's going to guarantee to happen that year. It could happen 5, 10, 25 years later. It's kind of like a dice roll in the game on when this is going to turn on. But I like to have it start around this time period for the mid-game, 2250, and for the end-game, I like to start around 2350. If you have the end-game crisis a bit lower, maybe like if you're on default, I wouldn't feel bad having that arrive year 2325 or even 2300. But this is how I personally like to play right there. Victory year, I think the default's like 2500. I turn that down, but at the end of the day, once the in-game crisis is defeated, that's when my friends and I basically say, okay, we have won. Difficulty, I personally like to play on hard. If you want more of a challenge, you can turn that up. If you're more of a newer player, turn that down. Captain is normal, Ensign is easy, and Cadet is very easy. Scaling difficulty, I don't like this, so I keep this off. Basically, this just looks at your economy and your technology every 5 or 10 years or something like that. I think this says right here at the end of a game start year. So it looks like it's looking every year actually. But basically, if your technology or economy is better than a computer AI empire, it will give that computer AI a buff to basically bring them up to at least your level. And I personally don't like that, but if you want that, go ahead and turn it on. AI aggressiveness, I like it at normal. If you have it on low, the computer AIs seem to be pushovers and they don't ever go to war. On high, if you want more wars with your computer AI empires, then go ahead and turn that on high. But personally, I like it on normal. Empire placement, I like random. I feel clusters are they're too clustered together. So I keep it on random. Advanced neighbors, I don't have them on anyways, but yeah, off. Hyperlane density, I keep that as normal. Abandoned gateways and wormhole pairs, that doesn't matter for a fast game, but personally I like to reduce that just because I dislike it when I'm in a war and then all of a sudden I look and I forgot about a wormhole or a gateway, and now the enemy empire is in my space and they're taking over multiple systems of mine, and in my opinion that's not fun gameplay. I kind of like the hyperlane so that you can put in bastions for your spaceports and have a bit of a defense. I like that. Let's see, guaranteed habitable worlds, you want to have that on maximum just so that you and your friends can have plenty of worlds to take over and populate and grow. Xenocompatibility, I turn that off. Personally, I play as machine empires, and so for me, the benefit that this gives does not outweigh the cost in terms of computer load that it takes. Basically, xenocompatibility, if one of your computer AI or yourself goes through xenocompatibility ascension perk, it creates a lot of different populations types, which is a great buff for your empire if you're part of that, but it does kind of take a lot of computer power because now you have a lot of different pops, and like every month or every start of a game year, the game goes through and tries to optimize where population should go due to their traits, and that's when you start kind of like lagging at the beginning of every month or every game year. So I just turn that off just because the benefit does not outweigh the cost personally. Logistic growth ceiling, so I increased this to max. Basically the growth now in Nemesis in the 3.0 or 3.03 and higher, now it's at S curve. So the growth will start slow, then you'll get to a point where it just starts to skyrocket, and then when your planet becomes almost full of population, well, now it's going to get at the top end of the S and it'll start to slow down again. So basically, if you want a quick game, you want to be able to grow your empire quickly so that you can take on that 25 times strength crisis. So I turn that up to max. And then I lowered the growth required scaling. So basically what this is like a planet. You'll have 10 population points per month that you gain for that planet. And to get another population, you need 100 population points. And so it'll take you 10 months to get another population. So if you turn that down, default I think was at 0.25, now it's at 0.05. Now it's going to be, divide by 5. So now it's going to take about 2 months to get a population. Now remember, when we get to the tail end of the S, it's going to cost more to get a population. And so it'll go back to taking 10 months, 1 year, or even more to get one population. So it will fix itself. But to summarize, To have a quick game, increase the rate at which your population grows, as well as increase how many habitable worlds there are, so that you and your friends can grow your empire more quickly and easily. Reduce the mid-game and in-game start year so that you can have that in-game experience at a sooner year to have a quicker game. And to also have a quicker game, reduce the cost of tech and tradition. That way you can get through your research quicker. And doing all these items, if you feel that the end game is no longer as challenging, well, just increase the crisis strength. Even with all these items on and playing co-op with some friends, 25 times difficulty is still quite challenging. And hey, if it's not, well, then bump it down for your next game. See if you can take it on. That's the beauty of the game. You can try different items, and there's a lot of replayability here. If you made it this far in the video, I really appreciate your view, and I really enjoy playing these type of strategy games. So please look at my channel for more videos like Let's Play of Stellaris and other strategy games, for example, Warhammer Total War 2 and Evil Genius 2. Please give me a subscribe and a like if you saw value in my video, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you. Have a great day.